Sir, there's somebody coming. Evening, Jim.
Greetings, fanboys and fangirls. Jared here with another review from Fanboys Forever. Today we're going to be having a look at actually two new Batman tech figures from Spin Master. This is their new series for 2021. And as you can see, we have the super rare Joker over here, and we have the new version of Batwoman. The reason why we're doing a 2-in-1 is because Batwoman here is just a very slight repaint, so I thought it would be cool to put her in with the very new Joker figure. So let's go ahead and have a look at these two. We'll start with Batwoman right here. We'll open up the middle. Looks like that's fallen into the bottom, which happens a lot with these. You can see that at the top, we have this thing, which is something that looks like I got already with Robin. At least I believe it's the same thing. And at the bottom, we've got these two things, which are just kind of scythes. And we also get, looks like a grappling gun. As for the Joker, in the middle, we get this thing, which is a Joker fish. This is really neat. This is probably the coolest accessory that I've seen in this new series. I really like this. I also kind of like the marbly sort of looking blue right there. Cool. Looks like a yellow version of the kind of bat cannon. Looks like we get a gauntlet for Joker that has a boxing glove on it. All right, friends, and here we have the two figures out of their packaging. And we'll start by taking a look at Batwoman. So with Batwoman, it won't take very long to discuss her because we've pretty much already got this figure before. You can see that previously we had the standard release of Batwoman. You can see that really the only thing that's changed is the paint scheme. Of course, with the new Batman tech line, we get these blue kind of details everywhere. So that's kind of the big selling point for some of these reversionings of characters, that they're all in this tech armor. You can see the original didn't have anything like that. It's just the standard comic book costume. Other than that, nothing's really changed. The skin tone certainly seems to be a little darker here, or it's a little more lighter here, which is more accurate to the comics. Other than that, it does appear that they've used some sort of partially translucent plastic on these limbs, which it's really strange. On the upper hips, they didn't use that. It's a solid color. You can see just slightly through the arms there. Do you see that? How it goes just a little translucent. As a matter of fact, though, it's so unnoticeable that I'm shocked they even tried it. It's just a reversioning of this very quickly with articulation. But that's it. Batwoman is a fun figure, but there's just not much to talk about with her. Still, the only issues I have is a little bit of whiteness up here above the Bat logo, which is a little strange. Other than that, there's really no quality problems to speak of. Batwoman does come with a few accessories that we saw earlier, and just like with Robin, these accessories do make that weird kind of blue highlight look make a little more sense visually, at least. If you already have the previous Batwoman, like I did, and you're not a completionist like me, there's really no reason to pick this one up, but if you're like me, go for it. So here is the super rare figure for this wave. It is the purple translucent version of the Joker. Now, I actually like this quite a bit, and there's kind of a funny reason why I like it. For whatever reason, a continuing trope in Batman adapted media, and even in some Batman comics, is the idea of the Joker as a computer virus. And it's just so ridiculous. I mean, they've used this so many times. Mattel used this idea for a line of Batman toys they were going to do, and then they canceled them, and that was in the very early days. And there was actually going to be a comic book series that was going to go with it, that was going to be published by DC. Do any of you guys remember this? It's really weird. It was such a bizarre idea. And then continually in different cartoons, you had this idea of the Joker as a computer virus.
Don't take it wrong, hun, but a boyfriend who's a collection of itty-bitty robots is kind of weird.
In the Batman Beyond toy line, the Joker was a computer virus.
The Joker reveals a whole new face. Take the battle to cyberspace. Virtual Joker is the ultimate computer virus. Evil defeated, Joker deleted. Boot up Batman Batlink.
It just goes on and on. Clearly, the Batman tech line is all technology-based. Now, everybody's kind of looking Tron-esque, and I think that the idea of this kind of purplish, translucent Joker is that he's supposed to be some kind of computer entity or tech entity, or at the very least a hologram generated by some kind of technology. I think purple is definitely the right color. It should have either been purple or green. And I do think it might be fun if they do this again in a translucent green down the line. I think that might be pretty cool. Maybe with a different Joker sculpt by that point. Let's go ahead and let's talk about the sculpting. Now, it's funny. I'm in one of those situations where this is actually the first version I've gotten of this guy. I hadn't found the regular version yet. So we'll just look at what we have here and see what we can discern about the sculpting. Since there's no paint, it's kind of hard to see every little detail. But I can tell you right away that just from what I can make out, the head sculpt is very, very much superior to the original first wave from last year. You can see as I catch the light in it right there, maybe it's better that there's no paint on it right here the first time we look at it, because I think we can appreciate all of the little details that they have sculpted in there. For one thing, I think the first head kind of reeked of being slightly generic, and certainly not a problem here. It kind of reminds me of almost a Brian Boland artwork, and I think it really looks nice. The Joker's hair is kind of spiked up a little bit, and just a very devious grin. It's a very expressive sculpt. The actual body itself is really cool because they hit one of the other big Joker tropes, and this one I actually like a lot. And it's the idea that the Joker creates his own utility belt. This has been around forever and ever, since the days of Dick Sprang and the 66 Batman show. I mean, it's so silly, but I kind of love it. I like how you can tell it's just a regular belt as it's being pulled through, and since the Joker is so thin and gaunt, clearly he's got a few holes left in the belt that he could utilize. But they go even further than that. They actually have like dynamite strapped to his thigh right here. And we also have some pouches, a la Dark Knight Returns over here. And the Joker even has a funny like knee pad that he has like, looks like duct taped or something to his knee. So it's just funny stuff. I like the comedy of it. And the comedy in the sculpting really does continue here, because you can see that the Joker has just a standard shoe over here, as you would expect. But then he has a mismatched combat boot or a clown shoe. It's really hard to tell, isn't it? I mean, I suppose it could be a clown shoe, but it definitely just looks more like a combat boot. That coupled with just the traditional suit up here, and nothing too much going on in the back, aside from the utility belt continuing with other funny gadgets and things. This is just so much more interesting, sculpt-wise, than the previous Joker figure. Of course, you know, you've got to do a nice standard Joker, and they did last year. But there's no use in repeating that, and I certainly appreciate that the people at Spin Master were willing to do something fun with the Joker at this time around. I do think the translucence looks really good. I think that it catches the light really nicely, and especially when you start throwing in some of your tech-based Batman figures, the motif kind of becomes a little more clear, especially, you know, if you're considering that the Joker is some sort of computer virus at this point, and it becomes a lot more fun to have the whole Bat family in those kind of outlandish techie colors. You can see that with the Joker, you can turn his head all the way around, of course. You can get some Dark Knight Returns action right there. And you also can take the arms and put them way up, so that works. You can bring them all the way around. There is a swivel right here at the elbow. You can bring the arms up this much. They are single jointed, so it's almost 90. It's not quite there. There's nothing at the hand, even though it looks like there might be. There really isn't. There's nothing at the waist. You can also see that with the leg, you get a really high kick, probably the highest kick we've got in the line, actually. We can also see that he can go down about this much, but the coattails stop it. We can see that he can do the splits. You also have a swivel right there. You have a single jointed knee, which pretty well does 90. Nothing at the ankles. So let's go ahead and have a look at some of the Joker's accessories. Of course, we saw earlier that he comes with one of his iconic laughing fish, which we know all about from the comics. And it takes quite a bit of effort, actually. But you can see that he can actually hold it by the tail right there. And if you had two of them, you could reenact the old comic book cover where the Joker is holding up with the two laughing fish. So that would be kind of cool if you could do that. The other accessory is the punching glove that we talked about earlier. I really like the sculpt on this thing. It's pretty creative, really. It just goes around his wrist. It stays on there pretty well, I suppose. And you can see that it just kind of doubles over to have a punching glove. But it's kind of funny because it just sets over his fist. if I'm doing this correctly. It still looks cool, but it is kind of funny. It's like he's got two hands. It might have been more interesting if they had created more of like a mitt that went over his hand. But once you have him geared up with stuff, it actually looks pretty cool. The other one that he came with that we talked about earlier was just this kind of green version of the bat cannon, which I suppose you could say it's the Joker's own kind of funny, perverse version of one of Batman's weapons, because it is in more of like the Joker gas color. So I suppose that that could work for him as well. So overall, both Batwoman and the Joker are very fun figures, but the Joker is definitely much more worth your while than the Batwoman. Now, it's totally understandable why Spin Master opted to reuse the same sculpt, because, well, they had just developed it at the tail end of the previous 2020 line. I think that's understandable. However, there's no getting around that the Joker is just a more exciting release. He uses the newer sculpting. He's also a very rare variant. You know how this works. Usually that means he's shipped like one to a case. So that means that you had better, if you're going to, grab him when you see him. As a matter of fact, between this and the standard release, because this one is quite a bit more rare, I would just go ahead and grab this one. Remember, the standard version will always be around for the next few months or so. It also makes this Joker a little more worthwhile that he kind of feeds into one of the main tropes of the Joker, which is him as a computer virus. For whatever sense that makes, it's still fun, whereas the Batwoman is just more of a toyetic thing. And if you've enjoyed this video at all, we ask that you please give it a thumbs up. We also ask that you please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. That's the way that you won't miss any upcoming Spin Master Batman reviews. Keep in mind, we have a huge back catalog here on the channel of all the different reviews that we've done so far, and we've covered most of the Spin Master figures, so it's definitely something you should go back and check out. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. God bless you and yours. Be safe out there, and I'll see you on Fanboys Forever. Take care. Fanboy out. And let's go ahead and start by taking a brief look at Batgirl.
Evil defeated, Joker deleted. Boot up Batman, Batlink. Figures and vehicles each sold separately, batteries not included.
Have you know I'm the greatest version of Joker there's ever been? Setting the woods on fire,